So David, I think we should get going. It looks like we've got
Sure.
a great turnout, and let's get rocking and rolling because I know
I,
we've got a lot to talk about tonight.
I love it. I love it. So thanks everyone for joining. I think there's a mixture of folks who either live with MS or know somebody who lives with MS or a similar condition. So really super excited to have just a chat, right, about how it is to cycle with MS. And so really excited that I think when Justine and Linda and I have connected, we always like come back to wanting this to just be a conversation, right? Like I don't know it all, Justine doesn't know it all, Linda doesn't know it all, but we all combined, have had different experiences, right? And so having a conversation, I think, is just really, really special. So um, before we turn it over, to Linda, and she'll go a little bit about Dirty Freehub. Also, want to let you know, Danny Klein, with the MS Society, is here as well, and I believe she manages endurance programs for the MS Society, and Bike MS is one of them. And so we're going to give her some time at the end to talk about Bike MS. And I make no secret that Bike MS is near and dear to my heart. When I got diagnosed, I got right into walks and going to the walk MSs, but I was looking for something more, and the MS Society connected me with Meat Fight, which got me a free gravel bike for living with MS and committing to doing a Bike MS event. And after never having cycled, I went and rode 100 miles like within like 10 months, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm really excited to have everyone here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or raise your hand, and Linda, can flag that, and we can go ahead and ask any questions that you have. So let me go here. Linda, I'll let you kind of take it from here.
Yes, of course, we have our wonderful sponsors. This webinar is sponsored both by Dirty Freehub and Travel Oregon, and so we're really excited to have them as a partner as well. Go ahead, next slide, David. So what in the world is Dirty Freehub? Well, we're a nonprofit, and we are really focused on gravel cycling. Although tonight, please feel free to expand the conversation just to cycling. That's fine by us. But we provide over 15,000 miles worth of highly curated ride guides. People come to us. We have 500 people a day coming to us to say, where should I ride? Help me find a route. And included in our ride guides is all sorts of information, education. We really want you to learn about where you ride. And on the side, if you're just getting started in gravel cycling, we have a collection called the All Access Collection, which is their easier routes. And so we're really proud of the fact that not all of our routes are 50 miles and 5,000 feet of gain. These are going to be less than 25 miles, and so we're really excited about that, and easier to navigate, less remote. We've really looked at the climb ratio on those specific routes. So next slide, David. For tonight, we have decided to give anybody who would like one of our ride guides. We have printed ride guides, and we have routes that are online, and then we also have printed ride guides. And if you would like to receive one of our free printed gravel guidebooks, you can just use this code MS Gravel, and we will be happy to pay for the shipping and pay for the book as well. And you can just go ahead to our website and use that. If you have any problems with that at all, just please drop me an email and we'll get you sorted out. So we would love for you to have either our Western Oregon or our Eastern Oregon All Access Gravel Guidebook. So back over to you, David.
I will say the gravel guides they're beautiful. And fun fact, you'll see a little bio on me in the Western Oregon that talks about cycling with MS. So, but these are just absolutely wonderful. I remember, so my neurologist also gravel rides, and I sent him a few and some Dirty Freehub stickers. And they are just really, really sharp. And so I hope you all take advantage of that. So who is today's presentation for, right? It's for cyclists with MS or people living with MS who might be interested in gravel cycling. People that are curious about becoming more active, and riding being a great way to do that. Or maybe friends, family, partners who want to be supportive and looking for an activity that they can do with their loved one to help them become active, and hopefully set their own narrative when it comes to living with MS. So anyone who's been interested in inclusive adaptive cycling, this is a great conversation for you all. So a little bit about me. I was diagnosed with MS in 2021. And before that, I was not active. I probably ate horribly. I know I drank too much. I did all the things you weren't supposed to do. And it was about maybe 2 years after my diagnosis, I was at my lowest point. And that's when I said, you know what, I really want to kind of flip the script a little bit, and I want to, control the narrative. And I quickly realized to do that, I was going to have to get healthy. And so I started working out and I started exercising, whether it was walking and rowing. And then it was the MS Society who actually said, David, you reach out to Meat Fight and get yourself a gravel bike and do bike MS. And I was like, that's going to cost way too much money. I don't want to spend money. And it's like, no, Meat Fight will get you a free bike and you can do it. And I remember telling my wife, like, look how much money I'm saving by getting a free bike, like womp womp, because now I spend way too much money on anything bikes, right? But I quickly just fell in love with it. I remember being worried about having MS and how was my body going to interact on a bike, and it's been wonderful, and it's been meditative for me. And it's something that, gosh, I want to say the first year I got on the bike, I rode about 3,000 miles. I probably did pretty close to it, last year as well. And it's just, cycling has really, really changed my life. So super excited to be here with everyone. Our next kind of guest here is Justine. And before I turn it over, I'm just going to say, I met Justine last year. Her and I were in DC together, walking the halls of Congress, advocating for people with MS. And we quickly started joking, and coined herself as like Strava Bros, because we started talking about our Strava links and like running and exercise. And I quickly learned that Justine and I were very much aligned in that being healthy, riding gravel, running, or just even riding, is going to be that key to writing the story of how we live with MS. And we've become like just best buds since. And so having her on this call is super awesome. So Justine, I'm going to turn it over to you and kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, bro. um, so let's see. So you can, read my bullet points, but I was diagnosed with MS in 2016. And before that, I was kind of a long distance runner. And like I rode bikes with my brothers growing up, but didn't really do that much riding. And I was... So after my diagnosis, like when I first got like involved in different groups, like, or got online, got on Instagram talking to people with MS, like I kept hearing so much like, I shouldn't, my doctor says don't, like I can't keep like, and I just was like, don't tell me like, Justine, you can't, Justine, you shouldn't, like, cause I'll do it. Like, that's the best way to get me to go and do anything, is tell me that I can't, that I'm not capable of it. So, that's what got me really into like endurance exercise and like endurance sports. So, I started gravel cycling in 2021. And like I didn't even start cycling. Like I got a gravel bike in 2021 and I went out on gravel and just went from there. So like road riding came later. And like I actually would put like I had a second set of tires, wheels, and I would put road wheels, like wheels with road tires on my gravel bike. So I was like wed to my gravel bike for so long. I have a lot of affection for that bike. But yeah, so other stuff that I should say. Let's see.
Oh, we can go into kind of like what some of the topics that might be top of mind. I know when you talk about living with MS and cycling, right? One of the biggest things, like they do call MS like the snowflake disease because no two people have it the same, right? But I would say the one probably common symptom that I don't think I've ever heard somebody not say they had was fatigue, right? And fatigue, it can be just a total brutal, like it's like not just I'm tired, I don't want to go riding today. It's I'm tired, I can't even get up to go walk to the shower, right? And things like heat can affect flare-ups, especially long rides. So what do you do to like manage fatigue when you're riding?
I try to like make sure that I am well nourished and well hydrated, definitely. Like try to give my body what it needs to keep going. But also I think when fatigue hits, like not being afraid to cut back, to pivot, to like we were saying, like to find a way to like have a planned dropout point, like that kind of thing is something I think about. But like managing heat is really, it has been a big focus of mine because that was a big issue, was like really from the beginning was like heat would make like my right side of my body go numb. So
Totally.
when I'd be out riding, like, or like running, doing whatever, and I can't like not feel like my whole right side of my body feels like it was injected with Novocaine, and like that's not a good thing if you were on a bicycle.
Totally.
So managing heat has really been a huge thing. So keeping hydrated, and then things like these. I didn't have these to show you, but I have them now. They're called Cool Ties. And like, so they have this material inside them that it like absorbs water. And so you put it on your neck and it's basically like having a wet towel, but it stays wet for longer than like a towel would.
I love it.
Yeah. So I try to think about different ways to like manage the heat to avoid getting fatigued. And
Yeah, no, like for me, like very similar, right? Like my first relapse was the whole, right side of my head went numb, right? That was like my big flare up where I got diagnosed. And the second, if I'm in the garage on my trainer or it's a hot day, like that's the first thing that I could tell, like, okay, like the heat's starting to get to me. And I usually then tell myself, hey, you know what, David, it's okay to have a pit stop, right? Like get some rest, cool down, get some water on you. Cause the second you start to like lower that body temperature, the better you start to feel. But I couldn't agree more with the like making sure that, you're on your nutrition when you're riding. Like I think anyone who is an avid cyclist, gravel rider will tell you, like, you got to make sure you're having X amount of carbs, calorie, all that stuff, right? And I would even say when you have MS, it's even more important, right? And I remember the first time, I think it was you, they were like, oh, I use like, tailwinds in my water. And so like I started adding like fuel, and I was just like, oh my God, like it's this completely like been a game changer for me, right? So making sure like that I have alerts on my bike computer, like have you fueled up, have you had some water, like those are huge.
That is huge. So like my Garmin watch, like I set an alarm, it goes off every 30 minutes and it reminds me to eat and drink, like
for sure,
so I don't forget, because like that's another issue with MS is maybe some forgetfulness. So yeah,
a lot of forgetfulness.
Yeah. So having like relying on like finding the right equipment, like a Garmin watch, we'll talk about it. We'll talk more about some of the Garmin stuff, I think later probably, but having that and like having it timed and tell you when you should be eating is like really, has really been clutch. And like, yeah, eating and like having fun with what you eat. Like gels are great, but so is candy. Like, so if you are, I'm not saying all the time, but if you are out on a long ride, it's like, or it's like the donut and the coffee stop, like on a long ride, like having some kind of carbohydrate in your system to keep your blood sugar from dropping is really important, I think.
It makes me think of this meme that's on like social media where it's this woman that's like, I have this like condition where my body doesn't generate enough nerd clusters, so I have to eat extra nerd clusters to keep like, and it's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with eating those gummies and those nerd clusters if you need them. But I think, like you said, right, we all kind of know our body. We all know, how to listen to it. Like even like getting a backpack with a water bladder in it, right? Like making sure I have enough water. And fun fact, like when you have just a backpack, you don't have to worry about reaching down for that bottle, which can impact your balance and all that stuff. But, one of the things that I think, we need to look at too is the mental resilience, because sometimes plans change, right? Like MS, like sometimes I'm getting hit harder than I thought, or, I'm bonking. I had an issue this summer where I was overseas and was hospitalized, and I came back and I tried to train too quickly, too strong, and it hurt me in the long run. And so, yeah, now I think I've gotten to the point where if I need to turn back, I turn back, right? Like I'll go do that ride another day. It's not going to get me, but I'm going to listen to my body. How do you deal with mental resilience? Because I know you have dealt with a lot of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think like just trying to make like non-attachment, right? Just being like knowing I'm going to go on this ride, but knowing that like these are the points where I can turn back, like if I need to, and not being wed to like doing the whole ride, but being able to kind of roll with it is like a really good practice, I think. And just really like being, being like, understanding, like
self-aware, and give yourself grace, right? Like when you go on a ride and you ride 10 miles and you were planning to ride 20, well, you know what, there's a lot of people without MS who rode 0 because they were sitting on the couch, right? So think of it that way, right?
That's like one of the things MS has done for me is like to have less black and white thinking. Like it used to be like I can't ride, so, or like I can't ride 20 miles, so I'm not going to ride at all. But it's like being able to say, well, but I can ride 10, so I'm going to go do that. And like being able to just like the little bit that you can do is like, that's awesome. That's a win. And so trying to have that mindset, I think, is really that mindset can be very valuable. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Lena. She's saying, do you guys work with a nutritionist at all for big events, or do you feel like you need to eat anything do you feel like you need to eat anything additional to recover better? So both going into an event and also recovery food. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that.
So I am a big like the carb school of thought. Like I'm very big proponent of that. So like I have 70 to 80 to 100 grams of carbs every hour, like just to make sure that like I'm really carbing up and just getting myself like the blood sugar going. Mostly I would say mostly I use gels and gum and like actual gummies, like the gel brand gummies,
like the Cliff and gummies or something,
the shot blocks. Yeah. And then also like David mentioned, Tailwind is like, that is such a godsend because it's hydration as well as getting the carbs that your body needs. So that's been really good. I would say so I don't work with a nutritionist, but my coach is actually, he himself is like a triathlete and a coach and a PT. So he has some like some insight into like nutrition for endurance stuff. And so every on Training Peaks, he loads like what I'm supposed to do, like the 13-mile run. And then he says, try to go for 70 to 80 grams of carbs an hour. So we definitely have that conversation about what I'm eating on my exercise efforts. And yeah.
Yeah, Justine, I haven't worked with a nutritionist. I'd like to, but I will say I think we're very much aligned that I'll load up on carbs for those more difficult rides, those longer rides, just so that, because I think I've found that when I don't have enough, I know everyone bonks, but I bonk hard, and so it's important to remember that and try and load up as much as I can.
And then what are you guys both doing for recovery food? Is there anything that you're doing specific to help your body recover?
I eat protein, like a bar kind of thing, something with protein in it afterwards, like within a half an hour to an hour after you work out, you should be having protein according to science. According to things I have read, that is a good window. And so I do try to make sure I get like 30 grams of protein in something like within an hour of the workout. So I just like bring something with me. It comes with me with the rest of my like kit. And like, so it's right there at the end, then I can just have it, yeah.
And I know Tailwinds makes like a recovery packet too, for after ride that's loaded with protein, and
it's delicious.
Absolutely. So for anyone on here that maybe was a road cyclist and they want to give gravel a try, or maybe they haven't done any of this and are like, hey, I want to get into gravel, which is what I did. I got like right into gravel from the get-go. What are some like considerations like when you select a bike or getting comfortable with your bike? What are some of the things that you've done to prepare yourself or when selecting that bike?
I've had a lot of conversations with like go to the bike shop, talk to the bike, like the guys and gals that work there, they know their stuff. So and like I rely on my bike, like my friends who bike as well, ask questions. So really like see what's out there, like, and yeah, what other people can give you.
Yeah, one of the things I learned pretty quickly was that the MS community was super like tight knit and then like amazing. And then I learned the same thing about like the cycling community. And then like when you combine them together, it's like something like really special. But I'm with you, right? Like test ride your bike. Like, I was, my first bike was a free bike, right? So I didn't necessarily test ride it. But a couple of things that I think might have helped me from the get-go was it was a steel bike. What do they say? Steel is real, right? And I liked the weight as I was starting to like learn how to bike and how to gravel. It made it hard like when you were climbing and stuff like that, but I thought it was great, and it was a really great intro into riding. So that might even be like if someone is new to gravel cycling, like I might say, hey, test ride a steel bike, test ride a carbon one, like give it all a shot, right?
I wouldn't ride a carbon gravel bike, like with how carbon is like sensitive,
so light,
delicate, yeah, and like precarious. Like because I have crashed on my gravel bike, not bad, but like I have like tipped over, and it's been like that would have not been good for a carbon bike. So just know that like with riding on gravel, sometimes the gravel that you ride on is like a cush wide gravel road, and that's great, but sometimes it's single track trail, like, and it's really, and there are routes, and it's a little bit, so you have to go slow, and you can have a tip over every now and then. So like I would think about the benefit of getting a steel bike myself, just having been through what I have.
So we have a question from the group, which has to do with e-bikes. So if I'm new to cycling, should I start out with an e-bike?
You know what? There's nothing wrong with having an e-bike, and I'll go back, Linda. You and I and Diane rode the 5 mile climb out in Hood River, and I think she was on an e-bike. And e-bikes are e-assist, right? It doesn't mean you're going up on a motorcycle, right? You're still working, you're still pedaling, and I wouldn't even have known. I didn't know she was on an e-bike until she told me. She's like, "Oh yeah, this is an e-assist." Like a nice specialized like gravel bike, right? And you know what? Absolutely. Like, you know what? Again, it could look different. It could help you conserve energy. But yeah, I'm all for e-bikes if that's the route someone wants to go. What do you think, Justine?
I don't know a lot about e-bikes, so I can't say about like how riding, like what it's like to ride one on gravel, not having ever done one or like heard much about it. But I mean, like if it helps you get out there and if like you can ride it stably, then like yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all for it. And I would also say, like, you know, one of the things we have here is getting comfortable with your bike. And here's the great thing about gravel bikes is they don't have to be exclusive to gravel riding. Like you can, you know, I got that first gravel bike and I probably didn't do a proper gravel ride for like 5 months. I did rides in my neighborhood. I did rides, you know, I slowly, gradually started going like 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles. And then it was actually Linda and her team took me out, or Linda didn't, but her team took me out to like Big Junction, I think it was. And I did a ride out there. But I was already comfortable on a bike because I had ridden it so much. Right. And the one thing I will say, and we might talk about this later, I'm not sure, that first gravel bike I got, it had 38 mil tires on it, and it was a little, I think, aggressive for gravel. And I'm on a gravel bike now that is on 40 mil tires. However, I bought a road bike, and so now I want to go up to 45s on the gravel bike. So that might be something you want to think of, is some wider tires for stability. And I know the gravel bikes, I think standard are coming with like 45s because they're heavier, right? And so I think that's a sweet spot right there, because you don't want to go too narrow, because when you go like 38 mil, like there's a couple turns where I thought I was going to lose an edge, you know, because those are some pretty aggressive tires. So I know we talked about fuel, we talked about hydration. You brought up something super interesting too, which was like you have like a go-to kit with like sanitary wipes and like tell me a little bit about like the kits that you prepare your rides with.
So I have on both of my bikes, like the saddle, I have a bag under it that like latches on. And
the saddlebag, yep.
Yeah, saddlebag, a bag that goes under your saddle. Sorry. In that I keep things like I keep like a multi-key, a multi-tool thing, and then and I keep other like bike relevant things. But for me personally, like one thing I keep is sanitary wipes. That are just in case like I have to go to the bathroom somewhere and there's not a bathroom nearby, but like I want to go, like I have to pull over, and like in that case I can like make sure that I'm like being careful and like wiping, because I know that like I don't know about you, but like MS, and I personally have dealt with this, like UTIs can be a huge issue. So having that kind of equipment with you is a good idea. But yeah, that extra tailwind.
No, the UTIs are like kryptonite for people living with MS, and like I, you know, for the first time in my life, like was battling them last summer, right? And it led to just bacterial infections, me not realizing it, and then you're training, and then you're why is my heart rate super wonky? It's like because your body is trying to like adapt to like this infection that it has. And what I've
about this.
Yeah, and what I've learned is I have to go to like the bathroom all the time
Yeah.
because of since then, right? And so that's like one of the things you got to plan for when you ride. And I think the sanitary wipes is a great idea.
Yeah. And they come in like little packages, like individual, like you just, and it's like right there, just one wipe. But yeah, no, I mean, the dealing with the UTI thing and like being sanitary is just like really important to me because like when I started riding, actually, it like the UTI thing got worse, and I thought it maybe was like a little bit had to do with the chamois getting like kind of funky, or like I'm not sure what, but eventually like it got to a point where I got a kidney infection, and like what is that? It's I forget the name of it, but yeah. So kidney infection, and like it was really bad. So yeah, just really
You
being
don't want to be on a bike with a kidney
that.
infection. It doesn't sound fun. But I think that's a good segue into like adapting when these things happen, right? And I think the important thing, and I learned this quickly, right, is that consistency wins over intensity, right? Like it was the other day I reflected, right? Because I took a little bit of a crash, but it wasn't on a recently, but it wasn't gravel. It was on, a road bike with some narrow tires. And, I had to tell myself, David, it's okay to take a rest day and go for a walk. And because you're still moving your body and that still counts, right? So consistency over intensity, I think, is huge. And celebrating these small wins, like you said, like if you go 10 miles, that's a win. If you go 1 mile, that's a win, right? Like if you got out of your house and tried and rode your bike for, 30 minutes, that's a win. So I think celebrating that is huge.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about ride planning. So I'm still struggling with this a little bit. I'm starting to get better, but one of the tricky things being when I was newer was like understanding elevation gain and what were like the gradients that I was going to be battling, and how do you choose your rides? Based on like how you're feeling, and what do you do to make sure you're on a ride where you're going to do well?
Yeah, like one thing I always recommend to people is doing a ride where you can loop like back to your car. So go somewhere like with your bike in your car, but then do something that like is like make a figure eight and stop at your car in the middle, or like an out and back, like, so using your car as like your personal aid station, and that's where you keep more sanitary wipes and like
I love that. That's a good idea. Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
So doing like loops, and so it could be the same loop, but it could be like a figure eight kind of loop, or different roads, but just don't be like it's not a real ride if I stopped at my car. Like, why? Like, who says it's not? Like, you had to be out on your bike and not have any aid at all. Like, yeah, it totally it counts, I think. So
Yeah, I do too. And I will say, like, the Dirty Freehub site has just been like a godsend, because like it breaks down like what towns you're going through, if there's rest stops, all that stuff. So you, like, I know, Justine, you and I have talked, like you like to be fully prepared and understand like everything that you're going to encounter. And they do a really, really good job of doing that. We've all used like the ride with GPSs and the Strava routes and all that, but this just gives you a layer of like, hey, you should probably use, you need at least a 45 mil tire on these. And you know what? The elevation gain might be misleading, because even though it's only 3,000 feet, there's like a 5 mile climb with like a 7% average or something like that, right? So these are all things that you can like kind of take into account, like maybe today's not the day for me, right? But I know rest stops, bathrooms, places
right.
to cool down, getting cold water, all like super, super huge.
When I am like looking into routes and picking routes, I think about like this, like there is a 7-Eleven 20 miles from here, like, and I know I will be stopping at that 7-Eleven to buy a Sprite or Gatorade or something, like, and using the bathroom too. And like, but also like planning where the public like park restrooms are, like, and where the public water fountains are, like those, knowing those kind of things and just kind of preparing and planning ahead can help you avoid like having problems later. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. So how do you feel about group rides? And, is that something you've done? And, what do you do when you're on these group rides? Like, how do you communicate with whether it's the ride leader or the group that you're riding with?
Yeah, I think it's like just, it's okay to like let people know that like what your needs are. And like, I can't say what you should let them know because I don't know what your needs are. Like, and it's a snowflake disease, right? So all of us have different needs, but like just making sure you're sharing what those are. Cause like David, like I know you have a good example like of you needing like how people chatting with you.
Yeah, that's tough for me, right? Because I'll be on a ride and, when I'm not on, like, let's say it's a casual ride, 12 miles an hour or something like that. And then, people want to chat and I struggle with that because I get really wonky and I start kind of veering and like, and next thing you know, I'm going to crash and it's going to be like a big mess. So like, that's one of the things that I like to do is, I'm an open book. I tell people I have MS usually within like the first few minutes of them, meeting me. But like I usually mention on these rides and like, hey, don't take offense if I'm not like chatting with you the whole way. It's just, I sometimes just need to be laser focused because it's not even about just veering into them. Is I have a hard time sometimes processing multiple things at the same time. So it could be me having a conversation and then I hit a pothole and then I have to adjust and then it kind of like spirals
Right.
after that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good advice. Like I haven't been on any group rides since that. So I was in a different accident. I had a different thing that wasn't related to MS, but so since then I haven't done any group rides, but since then running with people, I've had those issues where like just the people talking and the sound of their footsteps and like the water and like the people going by, like it's just too much. And I'm like, I'm trying to look at my feet and not like roll an ankle and like get hurt. So like, that's really good advice. And like, I'm going to have to do, I think probably at my next, when I do go to a group ride, like make sure that I let people know that like there are going to be times where I just need to like drop back from the group and like just focus. Cause I think I also I lose focus on judging the distance something is from me or like how much the thing in front of me is slowing down. So like needing just some space from people is really important, at least when I'm running on a trail. So I think it probably applies to bikes as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would also say like, be honest, right, with what your abilities are as well. Like the biking community is great. And like I went on a group ride with like the River City Bikes crew this spring where they ride Forest Park every week, right? And I was very, quick to say like, hey, this is where my level is, this is where I'm at. And you know what? There was a turnoff where a couple people were like on the same boat as me and maybe wouldn't have said something. And they're like, okay, why don't we have half the group go down, this path because it's a little bit more, on the lighter side. And then some of the more experienced riders can do the more moderate one. And then we all met up. Right. And it was great. And so be, honest with your ride leaders on where you're at, physically and, what you might need personally to be successful on that ride.
And like I have found that like people are really kind. Like when you share that like I need this because of this condition, like then I think they are like, okay, well here's the turnoff, like, and they will be helpful to you in figuring out ways you can be involved and be adaptive. So yeah,
it's usually like, oh my gosh, you ride with MS, badass, man. And then like, then you're broing out, going up, Forest Park.
You're growing out with other people, bro.
I love it. I love it. So I will say, and I think Justine, you just kind of you got on the kicker recently as well.
Yeah.
Talk about like building fitness indoors. You know, we all live in like Oregon, right? So it rains a lot. I got a kicker a couple of months ago, and I've been Zwifting. So tell me a little bit about like using like a trainer to help not only build your fitness, but maybe your confidence to go out on a ride.
Yeah. So I love my kicker, and it was my Christmas present to myself. And yeah, I think it's just it's like, I would say it's a really good way to like just get comfortable on your bike and just like really get comfortable with how your body moves on the bike, you know? And like the thing is, there's less to worry about, right? And so you can focus on really like pushing the engine, because you're not constantly like trying to negotiate like cars and pets and turns and things like that. So yeah, I think I really recommend it if you can have access to a trainer, or you know, at a gym somewhere, like in your apartment building, maybe there's a gym, or like maybe at your work. Having like being on a bike that way is another really great way to get it in when you're like a little bit worried or nervous about your fitness, like just getting out on the road or the gravel.
Well, I know for me, like before I got my first proper bike, I was like riding like a Peloton. Like that's kind of what my exercise consisted of, but I was doing it a lot. And I remember going out on a first ride with somebody who had been cycling, and they were shocked at like my stamina, because I had already kind of built it up, you know, on an indoor bike. And now getting, you know, further along in my cycling journey, right? The kicker and Zwift has been great because it gives you more of that simulation of like a real ride. And the great thing I've loved about Zwift is, which is another, you can hook it up to where you can actually get your kicker with a Zwift cog and hook it up to the program. But the great thing about it is there's a ton of trainings loaded into it. So if you wanted to do just a zone 1 for 30 minutes, it like will know what, you know, you tell it what your max heart rate is, and it'll give you an easy ride where you can, all right, this is what a one ride would feel like. Or, you know, you start graduating into zone 2 and zone 3. And so it's been great to just, and here's the other thing too, is when you get a bike and all you want to do is ride, and you want to work out. And I just spoke about this recently, you know, on my social media, which is when you get diagnosed with MS, you're kind of living through this, like, you're like a ticking time bomb. Like, will I not be able to walk tomorrow? Will I go blind tomorrow? And so like any day that I'm not on the bike, I was like beating myself up over it. And now when I can just like go into the garage and ride, you know, my bike on the trainer, it's been really, really just great. So I'm all for bike trainers. And you don't have to get anything fancy either.
No. And like on those days that you're like, I cannot go, like I have like MS fatigue, and like there's no way I can get on a bike for like an hour. Like the nice thing about having a trainer available is like, okay, you can go get on the trainer for 10 minutes maybe. Like it's such a good way to just kind of negotiate with the situation and still get out on the bike. But yeah, at home.
So
For
we
sure.
we do have a question, which is from
Yeah.
Cam. Cam is part of our Dirty Freehub crew, and she's asking, what advice do you have for riders who might not have ever ridden with somebody with MS?
Ooh, that's a really good question, and it's a really thoughtful one, right? Because I always grew up, it was like the golden rule, you know, treat people how you want to be treated. And then I loved the like platinum rule, was like, no, treat people how they want to be treated, right? And I think the important thing is just to be supportive and say, hey, you know, if you know about MS, great. However, what can I do to support you? Or if you don't have MS or you don't know anybody with MS, ask questions. Like, like we usually, if somebody's open enough to tell you they have MS, they're open enough to answer questions that you might have about them. So I would just ask what you can do to support them in their ride.
Yeah. I would like ask them like back to nutrition and hydration. Like I would ask them like, what's your timing for like hydration and nutrition? Like when do you want to be having a gel? Like what do you have with you? And like what reminders can I help provide you? Like, and so, just kind of like the things, this is still the things you can do to be supportive of them, but just giving you like a little more specifics about like helping them look after nutrition and hydration, but in a way that's good for them, like without being like, I'm your mom and I think you should eat a gel. Like ask them what their gel timing is and if they would like a reminder. Like that's what could be really helpful. And I appreciate that when my friends do it for sure. Like, Justine, have you finished your water? Or like, you're getting grumpy. Have you had a gel?
I love it. Is that the only question, Linda, or do we have any others?
Nope, that's the only one.
Okay. So, Justine, tell me what has been your biggest challenge riding with MS?
And
what was your biggest win after that challenge, I'd say, too?
Yeah. I mean, I think probably was like feeling steady on the bike, like was the first challenge, was really like feeling steady and strong on uneven terrain. Was the biggest challenge, but like getting used to my body being on a bike and how that felt. Because like I grew up riding bikes and I never had that like problem until like it was only after MS that I like had to like whoa, like what, where my stability just wasn't there at first. And so it just took some time, I think, to really regain that. And then what's my biggest win?
Yeah, what's your biggest win?
Let's see. I came in second in the Oregon Medio Fondo on accident.
I was gonna say, didn't you come in second, like out of nowhere for the like Oregon Fondo? Like, look at you.
Yeah. I haven't done the Grand Fondo, so as you know, we're doing that.
We are
in May. Very exciting.
So
but I think with that,
how big of an event was that?
Not that big.
Oh.
But I think like what that and what other kind of like when I have wins, they like are always surprises to me. So I think like really one thing that like these have taught me is like I really need to believe in myself a little more. Like I can go into stuff like believing that I have like the stability now and I have the strength and the stamina to do like something good and to do well. So yeah, and like whether it's a race or not, like I have it to go out on and get this ride done, but I think just really I think wins teach you that, at least wins that surprise you teach you that you should have like try to believe in yourself more.
Yeah. No, and I know for me, like it's just kind of, giving yourself grace when you do have those struggles, right? And I know last summer was really challenging, and I was prepping to do Bike MS, which was like 100 miles on Saturday and 46 on Sunday, and I was really like going for it. And then in the summer, I had some really bad bouts with my like immunosuppression and lost consciousness, and thought I was not going to make it, right? And then when I thought I got COVID, but I will say like 3 weeks later, I completed the full course. I did the 100 and then followed by the 46. And so I think it's important to remember like we're all so resilient as humans, and there's so much out there that we can do. And that was for me like, okay, like I want to keep doing this, right? I want to keep doing this. So I know there's some other questions we can explore. I know we're also getting close to time. So Linda, and I don't know if there was any questions that came in through registration. I could have sworn I had seen one about like noise, like one writing, and that one I will say for me resonated because that is my kryptonite. Like noise is my like I have like north of 25 lesions on my brain. I only, hopefully, only still have one on my spine, but they're mostly on my brain. So I deal with like cognitive issues, memory loss, but noise is a big one. And when I go to airports, like you'll see me in noise canceling headphones because it's not all the noise, it's the wheels of the suitcase, the baby crying over here, the couple laughing over here, the intercom, and my brain is trying to process all this stuff, and it leads to more fatigue. And then when I get to where I'm getting, I'm like I'm wiped. And I haven't had a ton of that with cycling, but I have had some to the point where I've started to explore like what are some options, right? Like I know they make like moto ear pods where like you put them in and it noise cancels like all the background layers, but not like a car horn or a person behind you. So I was looking at that, and then I also saw they make these, and I'll send them to Linda, and she might be able to send them out to everybody who attends here. It's like they're called like cat ears or something, and it's like this little fur you put on your helmet strap, and it looks like the fur when you see like podcasters talking on a mic on like a TikTok or something. And what it does is apparently it muffles out the wind noise. And I thought that was a pretty interesting one because again, it's not, I think the thing to think about with like noise and MS is it's not about the level of noise, it's about the different layers of noise, right? So if you can eliminate one or two layers, I think that goes a long way. And I think in the question it mentioned something like when you're camping too on like some bike rides, like camp can get a little loud. And that's when I would probably recommend like some noise canceling AirPods and just kind of going away and letting your brain recharge. Because if your fatigue starts to compound, I would just imagine it's going to make your next day riding more difficult and the day after that. And so what you want to do is kind of keep it at bay.
Yeah. I think we were gonna talk about like we wanted to mention I brought up the Garmin, so like I have a Garmin watch and a Garmin bike computer, but one of the things about this technology that I think is really has actually been like maybe saved my life is that if you stop, like if it senses that your motion is like 15 miles per hour and it goes to zero like suddenly, then it thinks you were in a collision. So it's like collision detection, and then it alerts your like emergency contact, and that's really good. And so I think like as people with like, it's good for everybody to have one, but I think as people with MS, like because we don't know what our bodies are going to do, and having that kind of like safety like in place just in case is really important. And like the other thing, like along with that, is like relying on the support of family and friends who aren't biking. Like always let someone know the route you're going on, and that like, hey, I'm going to Antelope, Eastern Oregon to ride on like the Rashnishi-Purim route. Like that you should let someone know that you're doing, because you don't know what's like gonna happen. Like
I love it. I love it. And I think when I go out on my Wahoo, automatically sends my route to my wife and my son, and they know where I'm at. But we want to be mindful of everyone's time. And I want to give Danny some time to talk about Bike MS, which is near and dear to me. But Danny, do you want to talk about Bike MS for anyone who maybe is new to cycling and tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to share a little bit about Bike MS, and thank you to David and Justine and Linda and everyone for inviting me. But Bike MS is a unique and well-supported ride that is built around one vision, and that vision is a world free of MS. So it brings together people from all backgrounds, including riders, volunteers, families, and supporters who are all united by the same purpose. So across the country, nearly 40,000 cyclists and 4,000 teams participate in about 50 events, and Bike MS is the largest fundraising bike series in the country. It actually is in the top 7 of the peer-to-peer fundraising events in the United States. Collectively, we have raised about $50 million, helping fuel seriously amazing progress for nearly 1 million people living with MS in the United States. And now to the event in Oregon. We are gearing up, we are getting ready, and I am so excited to invite you to McMinnville for Bike MS on the weekend of September 26th. So this is a supportive and energizing and inspiring event, and signups are opening in just a few weeks. I cannot wait. So I would truly love to have you join us down in McMinnville on September 26th. And so we have routes from 17 miles to 100 miles, which are perfect for both beginners and experienced cyclists, depending on where you fall. And I'm here to help you along the way. So if you need fundraising tips or if you need help growing your team, I am here to help you find your community. And throughout the year, we are hosting group rides and events throughout the year in Portland and in Bend. So stay tuned to our website and those sorts of things to look for those. But beyond this event, we also host 2 walk events, like David mentioned, in the spring. We have one in Portland and we have one in Bend. And we also have a Taste of Generosity event, which will be hosted in June. And this is our gala-style fundraising event. But this is all just to say there are so many ways to get involved with the society, from biking, walking, to volunteering, and so much more. But if you are interested in Bike MS or any of the other opportunities I mentioned, you can email me. I'm going to drop my email in the chat, but I know that Linda is also going to be distributing my email in her follow-up email to you guys. But thank you again so much for all of your time this evening, and I really do hope to see you in McMinnville this September. So I'm going to drop my email in the chat, and I hope you have a great night.
I love McMinnville, and Justine and I were the founding members of like Spinal Tap PDX, which was like our Bike MS team, and we raised like over $10,000 for MS. And McMinnville's pretty fun to ride, and like Danny said, it's super well supported. There's rest stops with pickle juice and like bananas and all the stuff. And Linda and the Dirty Freehub team were kind enough to be there and support us, and it's a really fun event. So Linda, I'm going to turn it back to you. Hopefully there was some good information here.
Yeah, no, hopefully. Thank you so much, Justine and David, both. You guys are definitely have earned your spot in the Gravel Champ Hall of Fame for Dirty Freehub, and we just really appreciate it. Danny, thanks for coming as well. And for all of you that were on the call, thank you so much for attending. This is really interesting for us as an organization to try to do this. And so we're super excited to support getting more cyclists out there, and specifically people with MS. I think it's, being around David and Justine has just been super inspirational for me. Anytime I find myself mental whining, I can hear the two of them going, "Oh, stop whining. Get out there and do it. Do what you can for that day.
Get on the bike.
Get on the bike. Shut up." So, and that's not I just love their you can feel their energy. It's just amazing and positive. So thank you so much for both of you for being there. So, and we will do this as a recording and send this out to everybody who's registered, and also post it along the way. So thank you so much.